the lawn in order to attend therapy. And that's
That
part
in
of the
itself
therapy.
assures the commitment. If you'll go that far, you'll work just because you came that far.
Right.
Otherwise, it makes no sense to have driven, so you'll put something into it.
So one thing I'm hearing you say is don't let the distance be a barrier to getting families to come.
No.
If you do it at Saturday, for example, is a good time. If you do it on Saturday, they'll come.
Mm-hmm. It's almost if you build it, they will come. If you offer it, and if you attend to linking the people together, it will work and it will happen because it will have a power of its own. If you link them together and help them feel supported and start out with the idea, the way we frame this whole thing is we got no magic, they do. They've got the power, they've got the lifelong connection to make changes. We don't. We provide a place, we provide an opportunity, we help them all get together and learn and learn from and give to each other. That's what we provide. They provide the rest of it. And if you do that, it will work.
Doing it a time or two and having their response works very, very well. And I guess everybody knows what the reflecting team is. Or
Talk a little bit about what that means on the Boys and Girls Home campus.
okay, during the group at an appropriate time, we'll stop and we will all go into the middle and talk about what we've seen happen and stroke the folks that have really worked and find something positive about every aspect. At times we've said things that I wish I'd done this a little differently, or I wish things had happened a little differently. But it's all in a positive light, but it's open and honest. And during this past group, one of the moms said, that's something that we see y'all doing is being very honest about things. And John responded, but it's not in a critical manner. And we don't put down. We're honest about things, we don't put down, and it's how we feel about things.
In a way, it's modeling healthier family interaction.
Sure.
We're a team, we're a family, and we share because we talk out our concerns, we talk about issues. I think in group you need to be free to openly discuss with each other differing impressions or, well, where do we go now? I think you need to be free to do that.
Earlier you mentioned that one of the things that you tried to do was to have a meeting before the group and a meeting after the group to process. But it sounds like you've done away with that and you started having a meeting in the group.
We do. I still think we need both, but yeah, we also meet in the group.
So one of the things I like in multiple family group therapy is to always be upfront and open. So the meetings in the group really fit my model, so that the families know what I'm thinking and my colleague or co-therapist is thinking, and everybody knows everything, so everybody has all the information they need to move in the direction they want to.
Yeah, I think, like in the end of the morning session or something, we have perfecting team. We might stroke, Susie for really coming out and sharing this morning and so forth like that. And then you might say, I think there's other energy in the group and we failed this morning to recognize that. And this afternoon I would suggest that we give the group an opportunity to, to share in this same day or something like that. You just talk among yourselves.
Does the group have an opportunity to staff the staff?
I don't know if we call it that, they always do.
They do.
If we're out there in the middle, when we're done, we're always looking for their responses, and we don't need to ask.
They'll let you know.
They'll let us know.
Oh yes, the leaders in that group, and there have been some that have really come out. There have been times we could go home. I remember Bill and I've done, when we divided with so many folks, there were days, Bill and I said 15 words each. You remember? And they did it all. They did it all.
So these groups on Saturday have been meeting, what, about a year now?
2 years.
2 years. That's right, I'm a year behind. There's been multiple family group therapy at Boys and Girls Home in North Carolina for 2 years now.
Mhm.
Wow. And this is,
Yeah, over 2 years.
this videotape is being taped August 30th, 1994.
And our first group was July 92 or June 92?
It's early summer.
Somewhere up there in the
I
tape
know.
library.
Yeah, I know it was right after vacation, right before, we didn't do that anymore.
Yeah, it was July 92.
Well,
We had-
you brought up another issue, and that is, do you videotape, audio tape your sessions, and if so, what do you do with those videotapes?
Sometimes we look at them.
That's honest.
Sometimes we don't. In fact, we haven't videotaped the last couple because I took some, Stokes and I did, we were doing a training session and found out there was no sound on them. We had good video. In fact, we had a couple of neat things happen in a session we wanted to show. And all we had was the bodies moving around and no audio.
We do get permission.
Yes.
Talk about that.
When they come into group, they sign a confidentiality statement and also a permission to video.
And then as they sign in each session, they're signing a page that has a reminder of that on it so that they know, which we borrowed from you.
I think one thing that we did that was very important, at least was for me, in the beginning, was every Monday morning, we'd watch those tapes and critique.
We did initially.
And, I mean, every Monday morning, we could count on it. We didn't watch everything, because there were times when we didn't need to. But it was an open and honest discussion of what happened. And I remember in one group in particular thinking, this is going well, but then Monday morning, that was taking a child away from the parents and protecting them from the parents. So, it was a learning experience. She learned a lot from those tapes. And I think that's important. I think it's very important.
So the first year, every Monday morning, you were consistent with previewing?
Looking through
Yeah.
and critiquing. And now it's just, we've all gotten kind of so used to it that, at least I have, I've gotten so comfortable with it that I don't feel a need.
There have been times I wish we had.
But during group, sometimes we will huddle in the back a little bit and say, I think it needs to go this
Mhm.
way, or we need to work with it. You see the energy over here with this person or whatever. Just, because the person actually working with the family doesn't see everything. That's why everyone can help. And if you see something going on over here, you can spot it and bring it to their attention so that some work can be done with those people too.
And I think it's been important to be able to move around. Sometimes I've worried like I was setting a norm and everyone in the group could feel free to just wander around and we wouldn't have a group, but moving around the room, changing your perspective on things. This last time I was sitting next to a boy and his mom, and they were getting into some stuff that tapped some of my own issues enough. I needed to get out of that chair and get away to get literal physical perspective on that thing, so that I didn't get totally hooked into my own stuff. And you've got to be able to move around. When we move around, we'll talk, as well as talking very openly.
So as leader and co-leader, what you're saying is it's important just to get up out of your chair while things are going on in the group and just step back, move around the group. And that'll increase the intensity as well as provide you with a little space.
Right. Gives us perspective. Sometimes it takes us out so they're running the group and we're not there.
Stay out of it when you can.
We've really, I think, tried to work on those kind of things. The never doing or saying something you can get another family member or group member to say or do. Staying out, using the group, we've gotten much better at those kinds of things.
What was that snicker about over there?
I remember a child, as we talk, things come to mind. I remember a child making some real snide comments. Y'all can do what you want to with it. He's going to go back in a couple of months to being that way. Holy fright. One mom reached over, grabbed another mom's hand, went over, grabbed a couple of more, went and stood in a semicircle around this mom, and they all said, she's not going to go back. We're going to stand beside her, behind her, support her, call her on the phone, do whatever we need to do to help her grow. And that was totally impromptu, and the energy was incredible. It was one of those things you had to be there. But that was...
Our groups seldom stay stuck in that circle. There's a lot of movement around in different configurations.
We do a lot of techniques, sculpturing, helping the families, sculpture their family, or a lot of role play and things like that. To keep it interesting and alive and real.
We were mentioning some techniques that come out of some other theories, like some of what Virginia Satir did. I've heard some of the ideas from the theoretical frames of Salvadoran Patricia Minuchin and Jay Haley and Carl Whitaker, for example, if we can really understand what Carl did. Mm-hmm. But what other frames or theoretical frames would you say are necessary in order to begin this process, or is it important that people use what theoretical frames they come with rather than going out and getting new frames?
I think whatever frame you have will contribute. But as you grow, you want different options of ways to frame things for families, because different things work for different families. And if you're stuck in one, that one may not have the frame that family's going to be able to grasp.
So if all you got is a hammer, then you're going to see everything else as a nail, right?
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's important to be flexible. We've used, and with some of the stuff Becky is now teaching, some of the Adlerian stuff in terms of the parent-child and diagnosing child misbehaviors, we used that. That's been helpful. I've borrowed stuff from chemical dependency. That's been helpful in other situations. You bring what you've got, but then you grow and you get flexible, and you use what seems to be working. Or you try things by process of elimination, find what works for you, or works for that family. Because your interventions have got to be within a framework acceptable to them. It doesn't matter whether you're right. What matters is what they're going to be able to accept and use.
Well, Bill McFarlane, who is is one of the persons in this field who's done most of the research, empirical research with multiple family group therapy with schizophrenics and their families in New York State, says that his research is showing that multiple family group therapy is different from family therapy and it's different from group therapy. It's in a category of its own. Are you finding that to be true?
Yeah. I would say yes. When you're working with a family individually, you don't have the outside mirror, and you don't have the outside resources, and you don't have the vicarious learning, and you've got more resistance to each other and to the therapist that just disappears in that multiple family setting. Yet it's different from doing individual group therapy, where your focus is more on internal stuff with people and helping them learn about their interactional patterns and internal stuff and the way they interact. This is less trying to think of a nice term for it. It's what's coming up in my mind. But it's less mental masturbation sometimes. And it's more supportive and interactive, I think, than just regular group therapy in a lot of ways. There's a lot of stuff that goes on that doesn't happen in individual group therapy. There are a lot of interaction possibilities that don't happen. Some learning possibilities that don't happen. You've had a lot of group experience, wouldn't you?
They're going to listen to other family members, other families before they will us. It's just I'm gonna quote you. If you go home tired after a session, you've done too much work.
I learned that one the hard way.
We're the least important ingredient in this whole process. We got it started and provided a setting for it, but after that, we've been the least important. And that's probably different than either of those other two styles of therapy, too.
Well, that sounds like a good place for us to begin to wrap up this tape, where the professionals are becoming less and less important to the families in the group.
We can open a door, but the family has the power to walk through it.
This becomes so much more of a self-help group, independent of the group facilitator in many ways.
Well, I think the help is coming from people who are in the same shoes as the people who need the help. I mean, if I'm working with the family, say individually, the group family therapy, then I might not have experienced what they experienced. Everybody in that group, in some respect, is in the same boat, so they're getting help from the people who know better than anybody what they're going through and what they've had to deal with. So if I get support from or understanding from somebody who's gone through the same thing as I've gone through, then it's much more effective than somebody who hasn't.
Or somebody who's an expert
Right.
telling me.
Because one of the greatest things that group does is support. Just the fact of support, encouragement, is a tremendous thing that group offers. You can go somewhere where everybody there has experienced what I have. They understand me, they empathize with me, and they want to help me. And so that's a tremendous, just that one aspect of that group provides for everybody there. And we don't have to be there for that to happen. That group has to be together. That's all it takes.
Well, one of the things I hope that this videotape will do is to answer some questions for people who are working on children's home campuses, social workers, for example. And I also hope that it will provide more questions than answers. And I think that what's happening here at Boys and Girls Town at Lake Waccamaw, North Carolina, is a pioneering effort. And I think that the opportunity to use multiple family group therapy has grown by what you've done over the last couple of years. And I hope that you're willing to share your knowledge and for people to call you, for example, and come and see what you do, or to invite you to their children's home campus to talk about multiple family group therapy. And of course they can reach John through the Resource Center, and the address is on this tape, and I'll be glad to patch them into you when you do that.
We'd love to have the connections, because it's more people for us to learn from too and share experiences with in doing this.
Well, thanks. At this point in time, I think that you and Stokes are doing some training with people on multiple family group therapy.
Yes.
Would you be willing to share some places in North Carolina where you've done training and maybe help people know?
Well, we've done it in Asheboro at Camp Caraway for the North Carolina Child Care Association. We've done it at the Children's Home in Winston-Salem, which is a Methodist children's home, and had people there from Virginia, Georgia, North Carolina, Tennessee. They have a yearly family connecting conference there, and we've done it there. And both those have had people who've been very excited about it and wanted copies of videotapes, wanted copies of information, and have now started to have people come see from that experience. So we're excited, and we're willing to help others get excited, because it's one of the best ways to go to help families in children's homes.